first we have Jonathan Sabbagh, who is our co-founder and CEO at Journey Clinical. And Jonathan's own mental health journey led him to found Journey Clinical with his wonderful wife and our co-chief operating officer, Miriam, over here. And Jonathan, I'm going to have you speak to your own journey and the story there, but we'll have you kick off in a moment. Brigitte Gordon is Journey Clinical's lead prescriber. She's one of Journey Clinical's earliest team members. She's been there from the beginning, really building and developing our medical team and world-class medical team of prescribers. So thank you, Brigitte, for everything you've done to help us build that and developing our protocols for delivering CAP. And Brigitte comes to us from many, many years of experience, including working on MAPS's phase 2 and 3 trials for MDMA for treatment-resistant PTSD. So thank you, Brigitte, for joining us and checking out here today. And lastly, we have Eric Fraser, who is a Journey Clinical CAP provider. He's one of our members. He's built a thriving CAP practice through Journey Clinical and has supported almost 30 patients in experiencing ketamine-assisted psychotherapy treatment. He's based in Hudson, New York, and he specializes in somatic therapy and particularly in music therapy. So he's led webinars for our community on that topic. And he weaves in sound healing into his practice, so we'll be excited to hear a little bit more about that as well. So to kick off, and thank you again to everyone for joining us. Jonathan, I'd love it if you could provide us with some of the big picture. So how and why you started Journey Clinical, and how and why you shaped this particular model for ketamine-assisted psychotherapy.
Sure. Thank you, Lizzie, for that great intro, and thank you all for coming. It's always, I think maybe my favorite part of our job is to meet with all of you. We spend so much time focusing on operations and trying to improve our service and expand it, and so sometimes we forget what we're doing out there, and you remind us that thanks to you we're helping heal millions of people, and that's really inspiring, and the work you do is inspiring. So really thank you, and you should give yourself a round of applause because you are Journey Clinical. Mm-hmm. My story is that I'm Swiss, and so is my wife, Miriam. I spent the first 20 years of my career working in finance. I built 2 companies from the ground up, and when I built my first company, I actually suffered pretty substantial burnout. And I didn't know what was going on. It was very ominous for me. I spent actually most of my adult life being depressed and anxious, and even dealing with substance abuse issues. And eventually, a friend of mine here in New York brought me to do my first ayahuasca ceremony. I did 1, then I did 7 more in the same 2 weeks, and then I worked many, many more times with that medicine. But ultimately, what happened is that I kept having these same experiences repeatedly, over and over again, and I couldn't integrate them. They were actually getting harder and harder to deal with, and they were more and more difficult. So I luckily found a wonderful therapist here in New York who started doing CAP with me. And what that changed for me profoundly was that I started working in the context of a therapeutic alliance. I started doing preparation and integration with that therapist. He diagnosed me with PTSD from childhood trauma, which I never knew I had. And I got a lot better. And that also prompted for me a career pivot. I couldn't quite find meaning anymore in what I was doing in finance. And so at the ripe age of 38, I had to tell my wonderful wife here that I'm going to quit making money in finance and I'm going to go back to study clinical psychology. And, you don't know this, but I actually didn't have a GED. So I also had to do a GED. So I entered as an undergrad, and then I went to the new school. Actually, a funny story is that the lab that I was in the new school is in this building on the 5th floor. So it's not on purpose, but it's true. And as I was doing my studies, I started really having the need to integrate all of that background that I had at building companies and scaling them with a really profound mission to expand access to these treatments safely, responsibly, through therapy, through therapists. I really believe that model was so impactful for me that it was the most effective, safest, and really scalable way to do it. And so again, I told my wife, I'm going to drop out of school now, and we're going to build this company. And so she looked at me a little bit like I was nuts yet again. And I said, and you're going to, come with me. And I think we're going to do great together. So that took some convincing again. But very luckily, she accepted the invitation. And in the middle of COVID, we decided to build Journey. And even the story of building Journey is fun because originally there was a space, and we wanted to give an experience, and we looked at real estate. And finally, what we did is that we surveyed 600 therapists through the Fluence network, because I met Igmar at the New School, and he kindly allowed us to use his network. And we found that the number one issue really was forming and maintaining relationships with prescribers. That really what came through. And so we started to really formulate an idea that we wanted to help therapists heal anxiety and depression by leveraging psychedelics in their practice. And fundamentally, it really was, you have a relationship with the patients, you're embedded in local communities, and that therapeutic alliance that you hold is the best container to do it. And so it's really important to understand what we're building at Journey Clinical. We're not a ketamine clinic. We're not building a direct-to-consumer platform. We're building infrastructure for psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy to exist. Right? If you consider MDMA-assisted psychotherapy, which we're working on, and psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy, you are essentially the key element for this to exist at scale, and so you need the back end and the infrastructure to do so. And so what we've built through that was, for those of you who don't know it starts with a telehealth platform where we support a collaborative care model. And so we have an amazing medical team. We're really grateful for Brigitte being here. She was here in the beginning, and she was there with our first 10 members. We just sent an email to everybody on the Fluence listserv, like, hey, let's do this. And Miriam was taking calls, but we have a whole collaborative care system. And so there's about 30 or 40 people now in our team. It's also led by Kyle Lapidus, who's an MD PhD who oversaw our MAP site. And therapists join our network. They refer your patients to our medical team. We do an extremely thorough, and Brigitte will talk through that, but an extremely thorough intake. We send them enough for 2 sessions, and then you deliver the sessions to your patients. We support a variety of modalities, ranging from in-person to couples to group to remote. And so really there's a whole protocol to match your practice, and then they come back for follow-up consultations. But the real power of the collaborative care model, it's not the prescribing service, it's the collaborative care. That means that essentially you are gaining access to an equivalent of a hospital system, really, that is dedicated to being your in-house doctor. And so if there's any difficult events, we have a 24/7 on-call teams. That means that we'll respond within, I think, 3 minutes or something like that. So, over the weekend, anytime you're doing your CAP sessions, we respond. And we're also here to collaborate with you through our platform, through communication with our medical team to inform our decision-making on prescribing to the patients, and also supporting you in your practice, and we're really expanding on that. The other part is a whole platform, which is a tech platform that we've built. Excuse me, I'm going to take a bit of water. A whole tech platform that we built, and we built it actually speaking to you. The way we built that platform was asking questions to our members. We had an alpha group, some of them are still here today, and we asked them, what resources do you need? How does the platform going to look? And we know that technology can be really jarring, so we made it so that it's easy to use and accessible and simple, and yet comprehensive. And so today on our platform, you have access to training. So we've partnered with Fluence from the very start, actually, Igmar, who's also on the MAP studies, to build a very comprehensive 22-module CAP training that gives you C credits. We have experiential trainings where you can experience CAP if you're eligible through other members. We have the ability to shadow. There's peer consultation groups. There's a whole myriad of expert-led webinars and peer consultation groups that range from Gestalt to harm reduction with Andrew Tatarski, IFS with Sunny Strasberg. There's webinars on consent to touch. There's really a tremendous amount of content in there. And you learn the community through peer consultation groups and experientials. And we also have a HIPAA compliant platform. You refer your patients. You can track outcomes through the platform. You can communicate with the medical team through there. And I don't know if I'm forgetting something, but we have, so it's very comprehensive, very easy to use. And today, we started now, I think we opened our membership 2 years ago or something like that. We had 10 people. We are about 2,000 therapists in the country to date. So we're likely the largest provider of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy in America to date. And we're growing. We're in 13 states. We've seen thousands of patients. We've delivered tens of thousands, you have delivered tens of thousands of CAP sessions. And we're coming up with a lot of very exciting stuff now. I think we're working on insurance, we're working on MDMA, we're working on a number of new improvements to collaborative care. So exciting times, and really it's all thanks to you. Thanks to what we've been able to accomplish, and thanks to you as well, who've helped us build this awesome service. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for that helpful overview, context, really diving into all of the offerings that we have for our members. And you mentioned this concept of collaborative care being super fundamental to Journey Clinical and who we are. So I would love to turn that to you, Brigitte, and ask you about what that practically looks like, and if you can give us an overview of how the medical team kind of functions and how they interact with our members, and what collaborative care looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to start off by just saying that since the inception of Journey, the mission has not changed at all. We've grown, we've expanded, we've adapted, but the core values have not changed, which is safe collaborative care. And that is sort of the fulcrum by which all of this is balanced, and it's maintained that throughout. And we do all of our hiring based on that, safe collaborative care, and all of our protocols are based on that. And I was speaking earlier with some of the members here that we have an open forum for questions and answers. It's really intimate and nice on Mondays and Thursday, where I lead 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And it's just always open communication is the first thing that I just wanted to start with. Transparent, safe, collaborative care. So what the clinical team does, the prescribers do, is we are responsible for your client's eligibility. So that is a very comprehensive evaluation. We go through not just psychiatric history and all mental health history in a very safe, non-judgmental sort of, I like to train everyone to have more of a relaxed vibe, because I don't know if any of your clients have come back to you and been like, that was a horrible sort of traumatic experience to see a medical provider. That is not something that your clients will ever experience with us. So, safety and this sort of a more relaxed vibe for your patients to feel non-judgment. And then we do the prescribing if it is safe. If it's not safe at that time because of maybe something medical going on, we will get clearance for your clients. So we do all of the background work and communicating with you all every step of the way. So eligibility we talked about, and then we do, the prescribing, ongoing care. So that's, monitoring how your clients are doing with you. The forum that Jonathan was talking about, our portal, it has open communication. So when we do an evaluation, it's not just requested or hoped for, it is required that we communicate with you in that evaluation. So you will know what we prescribed, you will know why we did not prescribe, and you will know why maybe there is a hold off in your prescription for something like medical clearance. So you're communicated with the whole time, and then ongoing follow-up and maintenance dosing if that's appropriate, or we will transition to different protocols depending on what your client needs.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can give an example maybe of, so I'll give an example of an experience that I had maybe last week that made me feel really proud of our medical team. And this is a good example of sort of a comprehensive flow of a client from start to sort of getting their prescription. So it was a client that was, I believe, in California. And so I wasn't the prescriber, but I oversee the medical team. And the member therapist came on that Monday call and said, hey, I'm just wanting to get a little bit more information about what's going on with this specific client. So because of our portal, I was able to track every single conversation that happened with our clinical team, what the evaluation looked like. I was also able to track the communication with the patient and the therapist, with our care coordinator team, which they are sort of our like amazing background angels that do so much work to support us as the prescribers, as well as you guys, to ensure communication is swift and thorough. And so this, I was able to track everything and saw that the prescription was on hold because of a medical issue. So I was able to sort of go to the therapist, let them know what was going on. And I think that really strengthened the member therapist's trust in Journey. Like, hey, we're here, we're holding you, we're ensuring that your patients are going to be safe in your office, safe at home, if that's the context that they're going to be using the medicine. And then I was also able to communicate with the patient what the holdup was, speak to the primary care doctor to get the lab work that needed to get done within 24 hours. I think we were able to turn it around and then get the prescription to the patient. And I think not only did it strengthen the relationship between us and the member to feel held and supported, but also the patient knew that we were doing everything we could to support their needs, and making sure also, maybe even if some of your clients are just like, I want the medicine, I want to start CAP, it's really important to have those boundaries in place, that they feel safe and they know no matter what their desires are, that we're always going to keep them safe, and that you guys are going to hold them and keep them safe. And I think it also strengthened the relationship between the prescriber and the patient, because they got to know a little bit more about each other in this process and be able to speak to the primary care doctor and get all of the information so that we can consistently keep them safe, right? People's health status changes over time. So we're part of that progression of everybody's transitions through life. And as we age and as we take on new medications or have different life changes that occur, Journeys with them the whole step of the way to make sure that they're safe with their medicine and with you in your offices.
That's good. I think maybe one thing I can add is that when we think of collaborative care, it is really at the center of everything we do. And so essentially, as we become your in-house doctor to support your practice, so other interactions that I don't know if Brigitte mentioned, but it is people reach out to our medical team all the time to talk to them, like having conversations with the medical team. They're available, they can answer, people like have questions. Is this patient eligible? Is the ketamine appropriate for a patient with this kind of condition? Like, our medical team is here to support you and really be a partner. I think it's really important to understand that. And then the other part is that for patients, essentially they're getting we are their care team. You and our medical team are their care team. And so actually also through the portal or on conversation, they can communicate with their care team that's composed of, Journey's team and yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a partnership. We're not dictating treatment. We are collaborating with you all to decide what is best for your client to have a tailored, patient-centered experience.
Thank you so much. And it's really helpful to hear about all those touch points, kind of the depth of it, and then of ongoing the life cycle and that continued outcome monitoring and really being there through that whole process. So thank you for sharing that. And I would love to get your perspective, Eric, on your interface with the medical team and your experience of collaborative care. What does that look like for you in your practice?
Well, I think I truly feel one of the best experiences about this is how the medical team has been available to me, has been available to my clients. I think, my clients, first of all, not only have they never complained about any of the medical side of it, they offer, how good they feel about it, talking about, different prescribers. I hear, how inspired Joseph is about CAP. I hear how supportive Kwasi is, how he holds the space and really makes people like almost feel as if they're getting, you know, not only a prescription, but, you know, someone who's connecting with them in where they're at. How great Amy is, you know. These are the 3 prescribers that I've worked with. I don't exactly know why and how different clients get assigned to different prescribers, but those are the 3 who my clients have worked with, and you know, everyone has a positive experience with it. And then it's really been easy for me to reach out to them as well, check in about certain clients, you know, and they've offered their feedback as well. So, you know, in that collaboration, it makes me feel really safe to do what I'm doing. And it just helps me to just really relax into what my job is, which is to hold the space for a therapeutic session, you know, facilitating psychedelic experiences that are therapeutic. And so I get to just really feel comfortable in that role. And then I've got, you know, I feel Journey Clinical and the prescribers and everyone just really are there, you know, they got my back in a way, and we're there together doing something really progressive, but has been phenomenal in the outcomes that I've seen. Yeah. It's really special. Yeah.
I'd love to dig in more about those outcomes that you see with your CAP clients.
Yeah.
And then we'll back up and we'll talk about your process of joining Journey. But while we're on the topic, okay, I'd love to hear about that. And you also mentioned to me, I know that you have one client who's in our medication management program.
Oh, so, yeah, that's true.
That would be interesting to hear.
You know, outcomes have been really great overall. I've seen like really good success stories. I've seen clients working through issues with panic and anxiety, finally being able to access somatic tools to be able to navigate those experiences that bring upon panic, and CAP sort of opening the door for the availability to work with clinical tools, like whatever you do as a clinician, it can really be supported just by utilizing this medicine. And I've seen clients, you know, with existential issues like crippling fear of death, even, you know, and that psychedelic experiences can really help to soften those edges. And Journey also really tracks clients' progress through their own. Every time a client goes back to do a follow-up, you know, Journey checks in by administering scales for depression and anxiety. And I always get to take a look at those too. And I've seen, you know, everyone showing progress on those scales. I've worked with, you know, another success story that comes to mind is a young man with some severe alcohol issues, and, you know, cycles of really bad binge drinking. And he utilized CAP with me. We did 8 sessions. I checked in with him. He did 8 sessions and took a break. Checked in with him about 5 months later, still completely sober, and just like having, and also conveying that, you know, that his spirits are good, that he's feeling well, and that just sort of that wellness being instigated and inspired by this CAP process can really just sort of ripple out into greater and greater outcomes for people, for their wellness. And I think I really firmly love and believe this model where we're bringing it together with psychotherapy, because it's not just that we're utilizing some sort of miracle drug. I don't believe in miracle drugs. I think when we bring it together with the CAP sessions and the therapeutic alliance and the therapy experience, that's where, you know, for managing, even like take, for example, depression, to live an antidepressant lifestyle, you know, to be able to sort of get your affairs in order after CAP relieves depression. There's a window of time to start to turn into being able to manage things that were unmanageable before, and getting life back together, and then being able to just start to bring in whatever you work with on your clients to help them to recover and to live a antidepressant lifestyle, to be able to connect with that and actually have a relationship with their own wellness, which for some people is something that they may never have experienced or feel that they've lost. So we bring it back.
Thank you for sharing that. And the client that you have, would you be able to give a little insight into that client who does medication management?
Oh yeah, the medication management. So that sense of also being like my practice is now, like I'm in private practice, like maybe some of you are, and you may not be able to prescribe medicine. My license type doesn't allow me to. It's way over my head. I would have to do 6 more years of school and so. But I know that certain clients they really would like to utilize medications. They don't have a psychiatrist, or they don't want it to be separate from me. And so when I have a client who I referred to medication management, and he's been doing well and utilizing the medication management fully. He doesn't do CAP actually, so he's only a medication management guy. And that's been great too. So, and it makes me feel like in my private practice, I have this clinic, that's sort of just a referral away. And we're sitting here together, and it's a community, it's a group of, and we're all this, it's a great sort of, I think it matches the modern world, where we're at now. We can do this kind of thing where we have a clinic associated with our private practices.
And a community.
In a community, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that about that program.
Yeah. And maybe just because as you can see, it's Saturday and I'm a little tired. I forgot to mention that. So like one good stat to show is that out of the thousands of patients that we've seen and the tens of thousands of CAP sessions that we've delivered, about 87% of our patients have seen improvement in that outcomes, which is massive, right? That really means that it works, and the protocols tend to be, as Eric was saying, about 6 to 8 sessions to start seeing those kinds of results, and they really work.
Yeah.
And then the reason why we added the medication management is there's a number of reasons. One of them is that it's really kind of odd that someone is doing CAP, which is really improving their mental health, and then they're being prescribed their medication and they're not being adapted to this treatment. So it's very odd to have that disjointed. And so we felt that it's important to look at mental health holistically and patient care holistically. And so we added that. And then also for MDMA-assisted psychotherapy, this requirement to be able to taper off and titrate back on SSRIs. So we're also building for that. And we're ready for those protocols. So these are some of the reasons. And of course, as we start to add insurance, it would be also easier for people to access that. So that's kind of the background.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too, in terms of like how much I appreciate how the medical team is familiar with psychedelic experiences and why they can be healing, and also, to be able to work alongside a CAP process, that it's all kind of in one place. It's housed under one team that is monitoring all of that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Eric, I would love it if you could kind of give us the timeline of you getting started with CAP. I know that you used Journey Clinical to train and go through that whole process and had some touch points with our community as well. So I'd love to hear about that journey to your thriving practice now today. How did you get here?
Well, I mean, it all sort of flowed in a way. I mean, I think it was spring 2022. I saw one of these Instagram ads. But I had already been really considering and thinking about that I wanted to get into doing psychedelic assisted therapy. I had spent I've been in for a long time. I've been in and around medicine spaces. A lot of my own healing has been through utilizing psychedelic experiences, and so I just, my work as a therapist, and I just thought this is the direction I really want to go. And then I saw these ads, and I guess we all know that, Instagram reads your mind, I guess. So, so I said, well, what's this? Like, is this for real? Like, all right, I'll have a meeting and I'll check it out. So I got in, and I did the process, and I did the trainings. I did all the Fluence training that is part of the platform. So it's all in-house. It was a great training. I learned a lot, especially about just about how ketamine works and how to, facilitate a session using ketamine. And then I waited for some time. I didn't, I was just sort of in Journey Clinical's. I was an affiliated therapist. I wasn't able to start seeing clients right away, but I knew I was wanting to hold my space in there. So I stayed, it was about the fall of the same year, 2022. I had finally gotten an office space that I could see clients in person. I wasn't really interested in seeing clients online in the first place in the beginning, but I have done that, and it's okay to do that. It's also a fine way of doing this work. And then slowly built from there. So I think I had a Google profile that I put ketamine therapy on. So I was noticing people were searching for ketamine therapy, but my name was coming up. I rebranded because I wanted to offer psychedelic assisted therapy. And then, so I think some of the SEO started to kick in, and then there was some word of mouth, and just locally where I'm at, clients having good experiences. And then a few weeks later, I hear from one of their friends, and so it kind of goes like that. Yeah. And I would say I've done minimal marketing per se. Like, I'm not, hammering Instagram or anything like that, but I think I should. Like, everyone probably feels that way.
But you've grown a pretty thriving practice without it.
Yeah, that's true, and it's been amazing. It's been so great for me and my work, and for my family, and for the people I serve and the community. It's inspiring, and it's also awesome to be here with all of you, because it really feels like a community. We can be isolated as private practitioners, and so when we have this kind of community where everyone is doing similar work, you might come from different approaches, but we're all coming in for this to utilize this powerful opportunity to help people to heal. And so lots of gratitude to Journey Clinical, and it's great to be here. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you built your whole practice on Journey Clinical, the whole CAP practice.
The whole CAP practice,
wow.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And you moved into private practice around the same time.
I did. I mean, I was sort of hybrid. So I had an agency I was working with, and I was doing and then when the pandemic, probably a bunch of you probably experienced, everything went remote, which allowed me to sort of stop commuting. So I was working in the city. So I live in Hudson, upstate. I used to come to the city 2 days a week to.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
And then it all went remote, and then I was eking towards private practice, and then kind of should I just leap? And then I leaped, and then and I wouldn't have been able to leap without Journey Clinical, actually. Yeah.
God, thank you.
Yeah.
How many patients do you have now in CAP?
Currently in my roster, about 10. So, but those are active, So I've served
almost
30
I
people.
checked your numbers.
I don't know at the top of my head how many sessions I've done. It can be really, some clients are still with me who started with CAP, who they utilize it, and then they're like, I'm good, but I really want to keep working with you.
For maintenance.
For ongoing therapy, or clients that I've seen for a long time, and then they start. So some people, 8 sessions is enough, and some people just want to do CAP. I've had clients just come, they're like, I want to do a CAP treatment, and then that's it. And that's also been, and they've also had great outcomes, I think it's for different people's, what they can do, what they can afford to do, stuff like that. So Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you to you both for trekking down to be here in this weather.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I think it would be great to talk just a little bit about community.
Yeah.
And so something that we found at Journey is that, you know, as Eric was saying, everybody's kind of like, you know, in their own practice. It can be really lonely, and learning and you know, exploring this new frontier in community is really supportive and helpful. So as I said, there's 2,000 therapists at Journey, so it's a lot of people around the country. And what we've done, and I'd love to hear your impressions on those dynamics, Eric, as well, is, you know, we've completely integrated a platform in our portal that is essentially kind of like a Facebook-like interaction forum where people can connect on various topics, communicate, and there's a lot of meetups that happen. So we're going to be doing more of these because we're very blessed to have this nice office, and so we'll do more. But they're happening around the country. There's one in Denver. They happen a lot. Like there's a lot of meetups that happen all the time, or even some great stuff. Like there's a channel. It's my favorite channel. It's called Client Wins, and people share like such inspiring stories on, you know, people getting better, like the ones you shared. Someone was sharing something called A New Lease on Life. I don't know if you are a Journey member, I would recommend you go and read it. It's just beautiful. Someone who was basically like suicidal and who really did, you know, CAP and felt a lot better. So we feel that, you know, being in community is a hugely important aspect of what we do at Journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how that impacted you.
Well, it's been learning, you know, it's been, it's a way to feel like there's community and togetherness. I've taken some of those webinars that Journey has offered. I actually offered one on music and CAP, and so it was, you know, it's really fun to participate. You can share about your work, and you can also learn about other people's work. And the meetups, there was like, I'm in the Hudson Valley. There were a few of those. I went to. I got to go to one of those that happened last spring, and just to like sit down and have coffee with the other therapists who are in Journey Clinical, and just, you know, hearing about their experiences, what it's been like for them. You know, I think it could help with referrals too, probably. It's just, you know, like just to know each other and to be in network like that. Yeah.
And I've also noticed that, for on the forum, there's this sort of free space to communicate with other member therapists. And I'll see some things that will pop up, like, what do you guys recommend for the best floor cushion? So if you want, you know, your clients to be as comfortable and safe as possible on the floor, or what do you recommend for like the softest eye mask? So there's lots of great ways.
What do you charge?
Yeah, what do you charge? How have you dealt with if you do, you know, if you take insurance, because we do offer super bills to those clients, to some clients where that they meet criteria for that. But if you and your practice takes insurance, right, and like how are you billing how are you billing Medicare or whatever the case might be? There's these really difficult questions that can be answered by other people who have already been there and found out the information. So it's really helpful, like for those of you who sort of started from scratch, starting a practice, how difficult that is and kind of like isolating that can feel, and you're just sort of figuring it out from scratch. It's really nice to have other people who you can share that with and have maybe already paved the way.
Thank you for enlightening us that, and community is why we're all here today. So it's I know that we want to get to some more networking and everything, but we'll open it up to a Q&A.
No, I just wanted to echo.
Oh yeah, Douglas.
Been here since the beginning, more or less. For me, Journey Clinical. I'm not a plant either. For me, Journey Clinical has been like a home within a tribe. The psychedelic community, like I started probably 6 years ago, but it's all over the world, and it's Journey Clinical is a home in New York. I find the staff here, Lizzie, Kaki, just really supportive for me as a therapist. In all ways.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
That means a lot. Go ahead,
I'll
Carly.
say two things. First, I think I agree with that because I think there's still a lot of stigma around psychedelics and ketamine. And in some therapy spaces, I'll say like, "Oh, I'm doing ketamine therapy," and I get the weirdest like faces, which hopefully the stigma starts to reduce and people start to understand it a little bit more, but it's nice to have a place where you can ask questions and feel like other people are in the same mindset as you. But what I wanted to ask is, you mentioned psilocybin. Is that something that Journey Clinical is working towards offering?
Sure. Yeah. We're working towards. So our plan generally is we're drug agnostic in terms of what drugs we're going to offer. We're going to work on all psychedelics that are FDA approved. The next one is MDMA. So that's likely going to be. I mean, I don't know if you all saw the note from Lycos now. They're called Lycos. And Brigitte works at Lycos or MAPS now. Where do you work?
Well, since the trials are, I'm sort of in hiatus. The trials are done, but Lycos, I believe.
Lycos, yeah. So, and we know those folks well, and so like that, like it seems that that process is likely going to get FDA approval in August, and then probably like commercialization will happen at some point at the end of this year. So we're definitely preparing for that. That will be part of what we're looking to offer, and then
Brigitte knows the protocol.
and well, actually, it's not. We have like 3 or 4. How many people do we have from MAPS in the medical org now? A few, no?
2, 3, 3, I believe.
3,
Mhm.
including Kyle, who's our medical director who oversaw sites. So that's one. And psilocybin is, I believe, like two years away, roughly, from Compass pathways being FDA approved. So that will be also on the roadmap. And any other psychedelic that comes through FDA approval, we will deliver it, adapt the infrastructure to enable you to do it, whatever the REMS are for those treatments, and we will provide a solution for you to be able to deliver it in your practice. That's what we're doing.
Is there the ability, if you're not a member, but if you're an interview member, to learn the MAPS protocol as for MDMA as part of the process, even though it hasn't been FDA approved?
No, not yet.
So we have to wait for the FDA approval before we can actually officially do any of the protocol.
You can do this. So yes and no. There used to be, and again, I would best redirect you to Lycos or MAPS at this point, because they speak of their protocols in their own way, and I am not part of their company, so I cannot speak for them. However, I know there used to be a training that they provided. I don't know if they're still providing it, but I think that will be part of how the REMS are delivered. There are some trainings that offer like training on MDMA therapy, but the protocols delivered by Lycos now are going to be probably they will announce that process at some point, I imagine, when it's ready. Yeah.
I think after August, right?
Yeah.
August is the big.
August should be the date. I mean, that's the expected date. It's the FDA, so no one ever knows. And what mostly is unknown are so I don't know if you know what the REMS are. They're called risk and mitigation strategies, and so that will impact how the drug is delivered, how it's scheduled, and what are the requirements. This is the first time that drug-assisted therapy is actually FDA approved, so it's going to be a whole different approach. So it will be interesting to see what that looks like. But exciting stuff is that, and they're not usable yet, I think. But Compass and MAPS, or Compass and Lycos, both had codes for insurance that were approved in January. And they have to be picked up by insurance companies. But all of this is moving in the direction where, at least from my personal belief, is that we are now at the cusp of what will be, I believe, mainstream adoption of these treatments as a standard form of treatment for mental health. And this 2,000 people network, we're growing. We doubled in 6 months. I mean, so the reason for that is that, and it's not just people who are psychedelic curious, but it's essentially now this is a modality that is asked for by their clients, that is very effective, safe, and so I believe that this is the beginning of mass adoption, and when these treatments come online, it will change the face of mental health, and that's what you guys are doing, which is cool.
And that's also so important to have that picture of holistic care, because with these medicines, unlike ketamine, where a lot of medicine is safe to be used concurrently, with MDMA and psilocybin, we want to oversee the whole care of the client to ensure that they're, safe, and that, the medications that they're taking are going to be, easy to come off of or back on as needed. And so we'll really be able to have a really comprehensive care of the patient with all of these therapies. That's the most important thing.
Is Ibogaine anywhere in the pipeline?
Ibogaine is more complicated
Yeah.
because
You need 3 days for that.
well, it's a phenomenal treatment for opioid addiction. Really miraculous, I believe. When I've seen it firsthand, and there are like risks of. I mean, I think it's a poorly marketed drug, quite frankly, because the real risk is actually like extended QT intervals in the heart, which are rarely occurring. However, the requirements and the sensitivity of the population may require a pretty like robust medical infrastructure, and more importantly, like the road to rescheduling that drug is a bit long, which is very sad given the scope of the opioids crisis in America.
A great question.
So there's the difference between getting a certificate in something and then being certified in something. So you can take a class and get a certificate, but there's this big like, so if I go through the training, I become certified in being a CAT provider.
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's not like a certification, like it's like you have a CAP certification, but the CAP certification is delivered by the organization that builds the certification. Fundamentally, what I think is important to hold is that we only work with licensed mental health professionals, right? So your training and your experience overwhelmingly qualifies you to do this. You have spent years and years and years and thousands of hours working with patients and understanding, therapy and whatever modality you may be using, IFS or psychoanalysis or Gestalt or whatnot. And all of these years of experience where you're essentially like delivering therapy to your patient and supporting them through that process is like you're overwhelmingly prepared. What we see, and I'm sure some of the members that are here who got started who were the first time, they can tell you that at the beginning they really believe that it's going to be extremely scary and new, and then when they do it, that's why we have the experientials and the shadowing and the program that's there to support you. It is really familiar to what you're doing. So that's one thing to really hold, is that you're overwhelmingly qualified to do this. The second part is that the training that we provide is excessively comprehensive. Fluence and IGMAR are on the MAP studies. They provide training there. So the quality, and you can ask our members, and I believe you can attest to it, is extremely comprehensive. Now, there is no body that exists officially or nationally that provides an approved certification for ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. That does not exist. So they're all independent certifications, right? So then, it doesn't mean that they're not good. There's great training centers, there's IPI, there's CIIS, Fluence, I mean, there are like, Prati, my friend, too many people. Veronica Gold, I mean, just awesome people in the space. But so they are their certifications, right? There's a difference between, for example, with MAPS had issued a MAP certified training. I don't know if some of you are MAP certified, but that was a MAP certified by the drug company. So there may be a difference at some point in time where, very much like the training for a medical device requires that medical professionals or people using it get trained by the company that created it if it's FDA approved. There may be something there for MDMA, so that will be or other compounds. But in this context, it's not the case. Does this answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have a question in relation to the integration process or session. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Eric, you can probably answer better than me.
Sure. Well, part of the protocol is that clients have an integration session after every dosing session, and I think there's some flexibility about what that would look like for every clinician. And I always do an hour, so my integration sessions are an hour, and it's really just to really kind of just land with your client again after an experience like that. It may or may not be talking about what it was like during the experience. Some of that, how was that for you comes up right during the CAP session as they emerge. You know, my clients always have about 45 minutes before they leave, after they kind of have gone through the stronger part of the experience, and then they share like, you know, wow, that was amazing, and we start, well, what happened? And you know, they start talking about it, and it leads to it kind of opens the door to a lot of content to talk with them about. And then for integration, they come in and they're just kind of, it should be within a week after that dosing session. And they come in and it's like a regular therapy session, but sort of bringing back to them some of the things that emerged during the session. If you have notes, you know, kind of like bringing back some of the things that came up for them. Sometimes, you know, if clients are open to it, I'll select a certain track that they were listening to during this CAP session, and it kind of makes them go, oh, I remember that feeling, and then, you know, and that kind of brings it back a bit. But also for like using integration to really just set some of that neuroplasticity that's occurring in motion. So like when we talk about now, the client may have more available than to work with. They might be more responsive to therapeutic interventions. They might be more ready for learning or integrating something, not only just the dosing experience, but, you know, integrating resources, you know, for wellness.
And medically, your brain is more malleable, right? From all sorts of down cascade cytokines and different chemicals and proteins after the medicine. And so your brain is more receptive, right? And it is more capable of creating new pathways. And so that's where we talk about the medicine is really just a tool for catalyzing therapy. So it really does help with the brain changes. So even if you were saying, like, even if somebody doesn't really want to talk specifically about what happened in their psychedelic experience, it's extremely imperative to have that integration session afterwards to utilize the funkiness that's going on in your brain, right? The ability to really create changes, which can take, you know, lifetime of therapy. And so it's really great to utilize.
Funky in a good way.
Funky. Yeah, I was thinking of sort of like almost like before a moth becomes a butterfly. We don't know what's going on in there. There's all sorts of movement and color, I imagine, and then it comes out to this new formation. And that's kind of what is going on in your brain with the medicine, is that there are all sorts of different chemicals being introduced and being utilized by the brain for transition and change.
I just want to say, I get excited hearing that. For me, it's like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
So the integration can occur 5 weeks later, 7 weeks. It's one of those things you wind up, you start it, and then that's my metaphor. But yeah.
Would you say that it's non-linear, or it's like spiral, like it's a funny shape?
Yeah, I did see this likening of the brain utilizing psychedelic medicine to did I say a moth becoming a butterfly? I meant to say a caterpillar becoming a butterfly.
Moths can become butterflies too. Maybe.
Yeah, different species. But yeah, that we don't know what's going on in the, what is that called? The chrysalis? Cocoon? Yeah, the cocoon. It could be like glitter and movement for all we know, but we do know that there is chemical changes occurring to create this whole new being. And obviously with human beings, it's a little bit more complicated, and we all have our history and our, traumas and our experience and our genetics that create like the brains that we have. And so obviously it takes work, and it takes very talented member therapists And but the medicine is really the way to catalyze that change of slowly morphing into the butterfly, whatever that means for the client, right? Whatever your goals are.
And also I'm sure you could talk to this way better than I can, Brigitte, but
I don't know about that.
but if you look at someone's neurons when they're really stressed out or traumatized, like the neuroplasticity, the learning pathways are really sort of like tensed and like contracted, and the window of neuroplasticity that occurs within 24 hours of taking ketamine or other psychedelics is actually like quite tremendous. It's not this, there are pictures of that which we have in our training, and also the other thing that's I'm sure really relevant, and I think it'd be good for you to just talk about like our protocol, like how what we recommend and map and the overlap with maps as well. But what do psychedelics do very specifically, including ketamine? So they increase neuroplasticity. They're non-specific amplifiers, but they're also defense lowering tools. And so it's really, I'm sure you've experienced that. I personally experienced that as well. As when you come out of on the tail end of a CAP session, often it's really there that a lot of the content tends to emerge. I personally believe that because it's a dissociative anesthetic, you have a bottom-up reaction that actually knocks you out of dissociation, combined with the neuroplasticity and the lower defenses. But the window of neuroplasticity is roughly 7 days. So if you've got lower defenses, increased neuroplasticity, and sort of a certain mindset that occurred, in that moment in time, the ability to work on those insights is, at least I know that ICE have done a study on that, and that is probably what they found in the MAP studies as well, because they do a similar protocol, which is like one prep dosing in one integration session, which is what we recommend. That seems to be what supports long-term behavioral change, is that whole process, not just the medicine alone. So that I don't know if that adds to
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.